The unexpected allies. Captain Alina Reyes stood tall in her crisp United Earth Navy uniform, her dark hair pulled back in a regulation bun as she faced the imposing semicircle of alien delegates. The Galactic Concordat chamber soared overhead, its crystalline dome capturing the light of 3 nearby suns. 27 species were represented here, each with technology centuries beyond Earth's capabilities. The human delegation is recognized, announced High Arbiter Solinar, his translucent body pulsing with bioluminescent patterns. The massive arachnid-like being towered over Alina, his 8 eyes regarding her with what she interpreted as mild amusement. "Thank you, High Arbiter," Alina began, her voice steady despite her nervousness. "On behalf of Earth and humanity, I extend our gratitude for allowing us to petition for full membership in the Concordat. We believe we have much to offer the galactic community." A ripple of sounds, some like laughter, others like static, filled the chamber. A sleek, chrome-plated robotic delegate designated XV9 swiveled its sensory array toward Alina. "Your species has barely mastered rudimentary faster-than-light travel," XV9's synthesized voice echoed. "Your most advanced quantum computers are equivalent to our children's educational toys. What precisely do you believe you can offer beings who have terraformed planets and harnessed the power of black holes?" Alina had been briefed to expect this reaction. Earth had only discovered the wider galactic community 15 years ago, when a Nixarian scout ship had crashed in the Mojave Desert. The technological leap gained from studying that wreckage had propelled humanity into space, but they remained infants compared to the ancient civilizations surrounding them. "Innovation born of necessity," Alina responded firmly. "Humans have a unique approach to problem-solving and adaptation." Yes, interrupted Delegate Tormil, a gelatinous being who communicated through vibrations in his transparent membrane. "We've reviewed your species' history, remarkably violent, constantly at war with yourselves, barely unified your own planet. Your adaptations seem primarily designed to kill each other more efficiently." More laughter rippled through the chamber. Alina fought to maintain her composure. The Concordat had designated Earth as a Tier 7 civilization, a patronizing classification that gave humans limited trade rights and restricted access to certain technologies deemed too advanced for their current evolutionary stage. "The human representative's petition for full membership is noted," Solinar stated, clearly ready to move on. "The request is denied at this time. Earth will maintain its Tier 7 status pending future evaluation in approximately 1 of your centuries." Alina opened her mouth to protest, but knew it would only reinforce their perception of humans as impulsive and emotional. Instead, she bowed slightly. "The delegation of Earth thanks the Concordat for its consideration." As Alina returned to her small observer's booth at the edge of the chamber, a slender, blue-skinned Medusan slipped into the seat beside her. Ambassador Kalara was one of the few aliens who had shown any interest in human culture. "They were like this with my species too," Kalara whispered, her feathery gill-like structures vibrating gently. 3,000 years ago, the Medusans were considered primitive. Now we sit on the inner council. 3,000 years is a long time to wait for respect, Alina replied with a wry smile. Before Kalara could respond, the chamber's emergency alert system activated. Holographic displays materialized around the room, showing a distant sector of space where a small research outpost orbited a gas giant. The outpost was under attack. "Outpost Sigma-12 reports unknown hostiles," announced a security officer. "Communications are fragmentary." The flickering images showed strange, angular ships with no visible propulsion systems. They moved erratically, almost as if they were phasing in and out of normal space. The outpost's defenses, supposedly among the most advanced in the Concordat, seemed ineffective against the attackers. "Deploy a response fleet," ordered Solinar. "Level 3 protocols." Alina studied the tactical display with a frown. Her military training recognized something the others seemed to miss. "High Arbiter," she called out, stepping forward without permission. Those ships are exhibiting a swarming pattern consistent with coordinated tactical movement, not random attacks. Delegate Tormel's membrane vibrated with annoyance. The human presumes to lecture us on military tactics. How quaint. Captain Reyes, Solinar said, his tone indulgent. We appreciate your enthusiasm, but please return to your observation area. The Concordat has handled such incursions for millennia before your kind discovered fire. Alina reluctantly stepped back, but continued watching the display intently. Something about the attack pattern seemed familiar, triggering memories of her tactical training. Over the next several days, reports of similar attacks came from other remote outposts. Alina spent her time in the Concordat archives, researching previous encounters with unknown species. Kaylara occasionally assisted, curious about the humans' persistence. I found something, Alina told Kaylara on the 5th day, pointing to an ancient record. 3,000 years ago, there was a species called the Void Collective. They exhibited similar attack patterns before disappearing from recorded history. The Void Collective is a myth, Kaylara replied skeptically. Stories to frighten young ones. Yet these myths describe exactly what we're seeing now, Alina argued. Ships that phase through normal defenses, coordinated swarm attacks, targeting of communication and data systems. When Alina presented her findings to the Concordat Security Council, they dismissed her theory immediately. Human pattern recognition often finds connections where none exist. XV9 stated dismissively, your species sees faces in clouds and believes in supernatural entities. This is simply a new space-faring race making territorial incursions. Our standard protocols will suffice. 3 days later, a Concordat colony world went silent. Then another. The attacks were escalating, moving from outposts to populated planets with alarming speed. The Concordat's response fleets reported devastating losses. Their advanced weapons seemed almost useless against the phase-shifting technology of the invaders. Alina was summoned to an emergency session of the full Concordat. The atmosphere had changed dramatically. Gone was the casual arrogance, replaced by tension and fear. The Void Collective has returned, announced Solinar gravely. Captain Rice, your research was correct. A murmur ran through the assembled delegates. Alina stepped forward, her expression solemn. The historical records indicate they target civilizations that rely heavily on quantum-based technologies, she explained. Their phase-shifting capabilities neutralize energy weapons and quantum shields, rendering your most advanced defenses useless. And what would you suggest, human? Asked XV9, its synthetic voice lacking its usual condescension. Primitive solutions, Alina replied simply. Kinetic weapons, physical barriers, analog communication systems, technology the Void Collective can't phase through or disrupt. Ridiculous, sputtered Delegate Tormel. You expect us to abandon millennia of technological advancement for projectile weapons and radio waves. I expect you to survive, Alina said firmly. Earth stands ready to assist with both technology and tactical expertise. Solinar's body pulsed with rapid bioluminescent patterns as he communicated with the inner council. Finally, he addressed the chamber. The Concordat hereby formally requests Earth's assistance in this crisis. Captain Rice, your species status is temporarily elevated to Tier 3, granting you access to our manufacturing facilities and resource networks. Alina nodded, already formulating plans. I'll need to contact Earth immediately. We have military strategists who have studied unconventional warfare for centuries. As she left the chamber, Kaylara fell into step beside her. It seems the primitive humans may have something to teach the advanced Concordat after all. Sometimes, Alina replied with a grim smile. The old ways are the best ways. Behind them, the holographic displays showed more Void Collective ships appearing near heavily populated worlds. The Concordat's greatest technological achievements were failing, and their only hope lay with the primitive humans they had so recently mocked. The human solution. 3 weeks after the emergency session, the Galactic Concordat's Central Command Center was unrecognizable. Gone were the elegant holographic interfaces and quantum computing arrays. In their place stood physical tactical tables with actual paper maps, mechanical communication devices, and humans, dozens of them, working alongside increasingly respectful alien counterparts. Fleet Admiral Jefferson Chen, Earth's most decorated military strategist, stood at the central table surrounded by Concordat military leaders. His weathered face showed the strain of endless strategy sessions, but his eyes remained sharp and focused. "The Void Collective has adapted to our initial countermeasures," he announced, pointing to marked positions on the tactical map. "They've begun using gravity wells to deflect our kinetic projectiles. We need to adjust. Our scientists require at least 30 cycles to develop new quantum phase barriers," said Commander Vrax, a reptilian being whose scales had dulled from stress and lack of sleep. "We don't have 30 cycles," Alina Reyes interjected. She had been promoted to liaison between Earth forces and the Concordat. "The collective will reach the Praxis system in less than 10. Then we fall back to the secondary defensive line," Vrax replied, following standard Concordat doctrine. Admiral Chen shook his head. "No, we change the game." He pointed to a nearby star system. "Here, the Talaris Nebula. Its radiation interferes with both their phase technology and our advanced systems. We fight them there, on even ground." "That would require abandoning 3 populated systems," objected XV9, who now served as tactical analysis support. "Evacuate the civilians," Chen ordered. "But leave the infrastructure, make it look defended. Meanwhile, we position our actual forces here." He pointed to a position within the nebula. "And here. When they come through pursuing what they think are refugee ships, we spring the trap." The plan worked brilliantly. The Void Collective, expecting to find fleeing civilians and minimal resistance, instead encountered a massive human-led fleet using modified kinetic weapons that tore through their phase-shifted hulls. The nebula's radiation prevented them from using their advanced targeting systems, forcing them into a direct confrontation where their technological advantage was neutralized. "First significant victory," Elena reported to the Concordat Council afterward. "But they're learning, adapting. We need to keep changing our tactics." "How?" demanded Tormil, who had become one of Elena's strongest supporters after she had personally led an evacuation of his homeworld. "We cannot match their numbers or their technology." "We don't need to," Elena explained. "Humans have fought asymmetric warfare for most of our history. We understand how to defeat a superior force." Over the following months, human military advisors implemented strategies that bewildered both the Concordat and the Void Collective. They created decoy fleets using minimal resources. They established guerrilla strike teams that targeted collective supply lines. They developed simple but effective jamming systems that disrupted the enemy's coordination. Most surprisingly to the Concordat, humans excelled at forming connections with various alien species, creating mixed units that leveraged the unique biological and cultural advantages of each race. The Medusans' natural electromagnetic sensitivity made them excellent for detecting void ships. The silicon-based Taraki could withstand radiation that would kill other species, allowing them to penetrate deep into collective territory. "Your species forms bonds quickly," Kalara noted to Elena as they observed a mixed human-alien unit preparing for a mission. "Most Concordat species require decades to establish such trust. When you might die tomorrow, you don't have the luxury of taking it slow," Elena replied. "Humans understand that better than most." 6 months into the war, the Void Collective launched a massive offensive aimed at the Concordat's core worlds. Their flagship, a massive vessel that seemed to exist partially in another dimension, led the assault. Admiral Chen's voice was calm as he addressed the combined fleet. "This is their desperation move. They've committed everything to this attack. Hold the line. Remember your training. Trust your teammates, regardless of what planet they call home." The battle that followed would later be known as the Salvation Stand. For 36 hours, the combined human Concordat forces fought against overwhelming odds. Ships were lost by the hundreds on both sides. The Void flagship's weapons tore through space itself, creating rifts that swallowed entire squadrons. In the command center, Elena watched with growing despair as their defensive line buckled. "We need something more," she muttered, studying the tactical display. Beside her, Kaelura's gills fluttered anxiously. "Their flagship is the key. If we could somehow disable it." Elena stared at the massive enemy vessel, an impossible target surrounded by layers of ships and defensive systems. Then she noticed something, a pattern in its movement, a brief vulnerability when it fired its main weapon. "There," she pointed. 3-second window when its phase generators overload to channel power to the main cannon. Impossible to exploit, XV9 calculated instantly. Any approaching ship would be detected and destroyed long before reaching that position. Elena's eyes narrowed. Not if they don't see it coming. What followed was either the most brilliant or most insane plan in the history of interstellar warfare. A volunteer crew of humans and aliens boarded a derelict Concordat cruiser. They removed all life support systems to make room for a massive payload. A primitive nuclear fusion device surrounded by fragments of neutronium, the densest material in known space. The dead ship drifted through the battlefield, ignored by collective sensors programmed to target active vessels. When the flagship prepared to fire its main weapon, Admiral Chen gave the order. The Earth physicist who had designed the weapon, Dr. Sanjay Gupta, activated it remotely. The fusion reaction created a momentary gravitational singularity, enhanced by the neutronium fragments. It wasn't powerful enough to destroy the flagship, but it didn't need to be. It simply needed to disrupt the phase generators at precisely the right moment. The Void flagship partially materialized in normal space, half-phased, its internal systems exposed. The combined fleet concentrated all fire on the vulnerable vessel. The resulting explosion tore a hole in space-time itself, creating a shockwave that disabled the surrounding collective ships. In the aftermath, the remaining enemy vessels retreated in disarray, their coordinated network shattered. For the first time since the war began, the Concordat felt genuine hope. 1 month later, Elena Reyes stood once again before the full Galactic Concordat. The chamber had changed. Blast damage marred the once pristine walls, and many delegate seats remained empty, their representatives casualties of the war. High Arbiter Solinar, one of his 8 limbs now replaced with a mechanical prosthetic, addressed the assembly. The Void Collective has sued for peace. Their remaining forces have withdrawn to the outer reaches of the galaxy. His bioluminescent patterns pulsed with solemn intensity. This victory would not have been possible without the humans. Elena nodded graciously, though the cost had been high. Earth had committed everything to this war, losing ships and brave men and women by the thousands. Captain Reyes. No, Admiral Reyes. Solinar corrected himself. The Concordat formally recognizes humanity's contribution and hereby grants Earth Tier 1 status, with all rights and privileges therein. A cheer rose from the assembled delegates, including species that had once openly mocked humans as primitive barbarians. Furthermore, continued Solinar, we propose the establishment of a new Concordat defense force, with joint leadership between traditional Concordat species and humans. Your perspective has proven invaluable. Elena stepped forward. Earth accepts these honors with gratitude, High Arbiter. We look forward to a future where all our species work together, combining ancient wisdom with fresh perspectives. As the session concluded, Delegate Tormel approached Elena, his gelatinous form rippling with what she had learned to recognize as respect. We were wrong about humans, he admitted. We saw your limited technology and violent history as weaknesses. We failed to recognize that those very experiences forged strengths we had lost long ago. Every species has something to contribute, Elena replied diplomatically. Humans just needed the opportunity to prove it. As she walked through the damaged but enduring Concordat chamber, Elena reflected on humanity's journey. In less than a year, they had gone from dismissed observers to valued allies. The cost had been tremendous, But humanity had earned its place among the stars not through technological superiority, but through the qualities that had defined their species since they first looked up at the night sky: resilience, creativity, and an unyielding determination to survive against all odds. The galaxy would never underestimate humans again.